Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Robin, and tonight I'm having a retro Halloween party with my friend Monica at Up All Night DIY. Together we're gonna do a couple of Halloween classic DIYs. After the video, please open the description box, check out what Monica's doing on her channel, and go over and show her some love. This is a clock that I found at Goodwill about a year ago, and the second I saw it, I knew I wanted to make it something for Halloween. I start the project by painting the entire clock in Dina Wakley Media black gesso. I make some clay embellishments out of DOS air dry clay. And I also make some tree clay embellishments. This is a mold that I found at a thrift store for $5. It's trees, branches, and twigs. I do make some clay pieces as well as some hot glue pieces in this. You can fix this very easily when something breaks like that. Just stick it back together and rub over the seams and you won't even know. The clock is all dry. I'm still deciding what exactly I'm going to do, but I am envisioning a Halloween sky. So I'm using Folk Art, Color Shift, and Blue Flash, as well as some of Dina Wakley's heavy body acrylics and eggplant and night and mineral. I did do a Barbie doll house to haunted house with this color. I will link that video down in the description box for you to see that. It takes very little of this paint to create the effect. I really wanted to take apart this clock to do something with a face, like paint a moon on it or something, but it's sealed. You cannot get this apart at all. So I have to work around it, and the colors in the clock face are a periwinkle blue, purple, and gray. So it goes well. Here I'm just dry brushing the mineral color, it's a gray, over the top. I'm thinking ominous, spooky sky, something wicked this way comes. And I think here it's a little too blended, so I do go back over it with more paint and do a chunkier, thicker dry brush to create the spooky sky. And that's the palette. I end up liking this better, and I'll show you here in a minute. There, that's much better. Here I'm painting the embellishments that I will use for the sides of the clock. This obviously is going to be a fence for a cemetery, and I start out by painting it black, going in with syrup and cocoa in the Dina Wakley line, and then when it's dry, going over it with a mineral color. This is my chipboard witch that is painted black, and then on the edges I use the folk art paint color shift in green flash. And I only did one side because she's going to be flying into or over the moon, so only one side of her will have a highlight. These are bat stickers. They have a foam sticker on the back that I end up pulling off and then just gluing them with hot glue. The trees are dry, and again I go in with the black first. While everything's wet, I go over it with a mixture of the browns, cocoa, and syrup. And when they're dry, I go over them with a dry brush of mineral to make them look like dead trees in a cemetery. This is a indoor-outdoor apple barrel paint in the color pumpkin orange. The stems will be painted with syrup. And then between the ribs, I go in with Dina Wakley's Tangelo to create depth. Here I decide that I don't like the color of the hardware, so I go in with Tim Holtz Distress Foundry Wax and Sterling. This is a really cool product. It dries like a powder on your table, but whatever you put it on, it adheres to like an acrylic paint. It's the neatest thing. Comes in different colors like brass and I forget what else. I have 4 different colors. Let's see what they are while we're at it. Gilded, Statue, Mind, and Sterling. Those are the colors. And the Sterling goes much better with this purple and gray. I wanted to remove the feet to paint them, but they're nailed on instead of screwed on, so it's really very easy to use this product. You just pounce it with a makeup brush, or I'm sorry, a makeup sponge, or paint it on with a brush, and there you go. It's that easy. I did another project, a candelabra, with this product. I will link that video below as well. Here I'm just sizing up the fence, which actually fits around the clock perfectly. I'm cutting some moss to create our cemetery lawn. And just hot gluing that in place. I decided I don't like the fence going across the front of the clock, so I cut that with my trusty Tim Holtz scissors that cut through metal. Those things are awesome. And I just do the sides, which turns out a lot better. I want one of the sides of the cemetery fence to be broken or maybe pulled forward a little bit. I have in mind that I want to put a tree, like an old gnarly tree is growing through one of the sides. I think I show that much later. I think it's at the very end. But this is the first tree that goes on. Sorry about the angle. I tried everything to get a good angle so you could see what I was doing as well as I could see what I was doing. And so this is what I came up with, just to kind of do the work and then turn the clock as I went. Ooh, it's getting spooky in here. Here I'm gluing on moss that has just kind of fallen off of the pieces that I put on, and I'm gluing it between the slats of the fence just to make it look unkempt and more scary. It's a haunted cemetery after all, you know. All right, so these tombstones I've had for years. Some are Tim Holtz, some are from Michael's. I decided on the larger skull on this side. It just looked better. Cut out a lot of footage of fussing, auditioning different pieces, seeing what I wanted to use, lamenting over the smallest detail. And then this I just break in half to have two pieces. I worked on this for 3.5 days, and at the very end I had 5 hours of footage that I had to edit. That was fun. This side gets a pumpkin instead of a skull. This leaf that you see there ends up coming off, and I put it on the front of the clock. Right now I'm out of frame, but I don't realize that because the camera is kind of far away on an arm. But it is a Tim Holtz metal bat that I painted a while back. And then on this side, I used the Tim Holtz metal owl. Right there he is. And I used 3D matte medium for him because he's kind of heavy. And 3D matte gel is for heavy pieces. There's a wooden bat You can barely see it, but it's there. And now I'm trying to take this very intricate piece of chipboard and thicken it up, because I'm thinking that if I ever sell this piece, which I typically do, I want it to be thick and kind of add a little layer of protection over it so it doesn't bend or get caught on anything. So I do this with ultra thick embossing powder, and I do 2 coats of this. This is a little moon I stenciled on and then hand painted, and then as I was going through my drawers, I found this wooden circle, and I'm like, ta-da, there you are, that's what I wanted. I'm using Tim Holtz Distress Stain that I've had for 157 years in my stash in the color Scattered Straw, and it makes the perfect color for a harvest moon. Much better. That anemic moon we are not dealing with. So I use the 3D matte gel because it's just so sturdy. And then I spared you the details of trying to figure out where I wanted the witch, but I had in mind that if I ever sell this piece, I don't want her up too high where she could get bent. I don't want her down too low where you can't read the clock. And I don't want her over too far to the right because I want to put a bat there. Decisions, decisions. Y'all just don't know what goes into a homemade product. You just don't. So I wiped off all the excess of the 3D matte medium with a paintbrush. And now I'm using the bat stickers. Just coloring the sides in with a Posca marker. And to make them stand out from the background, I add a little Opal Magic from Finnabair. If you go looking for this product, now they put it in a tube instead of a tin, just so you're aware. And I sat back and wondered, what are we missing? We are missing ghosts. They looked really cool, kind of more see-through, but I know when you use purple and then you use white over time, they can turn pink. I did this before in another project, and the next morning I woke up and I had pink ghosts. So I stenciled them on and then I painted over them with white gesso about 5 times. So I don't think there's going to be any bleed through, and I haven't seen any yet. So I'm using this Opal Magic as a highlight on this side of the clock, the right side. Only the left will get a highlight. Because again, we're envisioning this as a flat canvas and the moon would be shining on the left side. And on this side, the moon would be shining on the right side of the trees and the tombstones. And because this project wasn't quite long enough, I turn it over and see what I can do on the back. They painted the inside of this all black except for the door, so I fix that later. And so I take a stencil from Dyan Reaveley at Ranger. It is a Dilutions Spiderweb stencil, and stencil that all over the back. And it is dry that fast. Trusty black gesso again. And I just continue on with the spider web inside because, you know, when you change the batteries, you gotta be scared. Here's a chipboard spider that I painted black and then drew an hourglass in red on the back to create a black widow. Drawing on the faces of the ghosts. We're getting close to the end here. I'm finally gluing on the tree that I want on the front that looks as if it's kind of growing out of a bend in the fence. And I'm using 3D matte gel on this one because this tree is made out of hot glue and it would melt if I used the hot glue to glue it in place. This is an excellent product for mixed media pieces with awkward or heavy embellishments. Here I'm gluing on more moss, and then I use a metal Halloween cat from Tim Holtz that I painted a while back and glue that down. Glue on my pumpkins on top. And put moss around the base just so you can't see any hot glue. This is a Tim Holtz Halloween coin that you'll see in the end. And we are done. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed putting it together. The coin says, "In secret, between shadow and soul lies unseen magic to behold." All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Please go over and see Monica. Please like, comment, share. We would really appreciate it. And if I don't see you before, I just wanted to say Happy Halloween. Bye.